Hello and welcome to BOI Weekly. I'm Kayode Alayande. How often have you found yourself either at parties, canteens, or at home pick away at the grooves of your teeth with a toothpick to remove residue of food stuck there after downing a nice meal? Some people have even formed the not so complimentary habit of perpetually leaving the toothpick hanging out of their mouth, whether they are dining or not. Well, whatever the relationship you have with a toothpick, it's quite easy to dismiss them as worthless articles, but it would interest you to know that there is a budding toothpick industry in Nigeria. Despite the fact that the country has bamboo from which the toothpicks are made, we continue to depend heavily on Japan and China for our local consumption. Only a few years ago did the production of toothpicks in commercial quantity commence in Edo State. In a bid to decimate Nigeria's heavy dependence on Asia for toothpicks, some collaborative efforts have begun to grow the industry here in Nigeria. Today on the program, you will meet a veteran of the Nigeria Air Force who is now retired into agriculture and manufacturing. He and his son have chosen the packaging spot in the toothpick value chain. Panais Nduweli Nigeria Limited in Asaba Delta State is not new to the bamboo business. It also produces bamboo flooring, but that portion of the factory now produces only on demand. Through the help of the Bank of Industry, they were able to procure machinery running into several millions of naira to produce cups and lids with which the toothpicks are packaged. Find out more about them in just a moment. After traveling on this road for a while, one is tempted to think it leads nowhere. But after a few turns, we arrived in front of a warehouse that accommodates a toothpick packaging factory. I am received by chairman of the company, who promptly introduces me to his son, who now runs the factory with minimal support from his father. Nduka trained as an engineer and has run this factory for a while, so he knows it like the back of his hand.
So this is the first thing that we use in our production process. They are plastic pellets we get from LMA Petrochemical. They look like white plastic pellets like this, and they are used to produce plastic containers like this. Now they're
Okay, so these ones, what we have here,
become plastic containers like that.
this.
Yes.
All right. How about this?
These are also plastic, the covers for the plastic containers.
Okay.
And incidentally, you need two different types of resin to produce this. You know, this you need the locally produced resin, and this you need the imported resin for this.
Okay, so this resin that I'm looking at,
Yes.
produced which one of these?
What you're looking at produced the container itself.
Okay.
You know, unfortunately, you can't tell the difference between the locally made resin and the imported resin because they look very similar, but their chemical characteristics are very, very different. Okay, so this is what the plastic raw material or plastic pellets from LMA looks like.
Okay.
And this is what is turned by the machinery into a plastic cup like this. And the plastic cup eventually is used to pack the toothpicks.
Okay. Is it the same resin, as you call it, that produces these two types of
No, there are
chips of plastics?
there are two different types of resin, one locally made and one imported. The locally made plastic resin we use to produce this, but the imported material is used to produce the lid or the cover. And the reason for that is the imported material is extremely sensitive, you know, for the cover production, because this is a very, very lightweight and thin wall closure. But for now, I'm going to show you how the plastic cups and closures are made with the injection molding machines.
All right.
So this is one of the injection molding machines that produces the plastic containers. Basically, it takes the plastic pellets and turns them into plastic cups. There are two components of an injection machine, the machine itself and then the mold. The mold is completely separate from the machine because the machine is a very versatile piece of equipment. We can put different types of mold in it and to produce different types of products. In our case, we have a 24 cavity mold that produces 24 cups every time the machine or each cycle of the machine's operation. Currently, this is like I said, 160-ton capacity machines. It can produce, the way it is configured, it can produce at least 70,000 cups every day. The brand of machinery is the Haitian, which we get from China. Haitian is the largest injection machine company globally. So we have very good support for the machine. They have technicians from China who are available in Nigeria who service the machine. The plastic pellets are loaded into very big containers, they're called surge bins. We take each bag of plastic material and put them inside here. This has the capacity to hold material for at least a full day's production, so that we don't need to keep loading them. And then the machine senses when it needs material inside the mold and then sucks the material from the bin into itself. We have to keep this as clean as possible. The loading process, before each bag is loaded, the bag has to be cleaned to remove sand so that this is completely virgin material and there's no contaminant inside, because if that happens, the process will be interrupted. I'd also like to talk about the color of the material. If you notice, this is yellow.
Yeah.
The color of the material is changed by putting a different type of plastic raw material called master batch into
Master what?
master batch
Okay.
into a dosing machine. Now this machine sets the percentage of color for each container. So you can set the color to 100% color or just 10% color, depending on how deep you want the color to be. What happens after that is the machine pumps melted plastic into the mold. Plastic pellets or plastic raw material is vacuumed into the molding area with a machine called a vacuum loader. And the vacuum loader sucks material from that surge bin I showed you earlier into here. And the machine takes that material and melts it in this melting chamber. Okay. The melting chamber, the temperature is set by the control panel here.
All right. What's usually the melting temperature?
You typically melt plastic polypropylene at 230 degrees centigrade. So that is the temperature of this area most of the time. What he's doing is dusting the bag of any impurities, so that when we load the plastic raw material into the machine, there's no sand or any other contaminant in the bag. So what he's going to do now is that he's going to take the bag and put the raw material into the surge bin, The surge bin has a capacity of a day's need of plastic material. The reason we have
the capacity of that?
yeah this can take at least 500 tons. That is 20 bags of this.
All right, and from those 20 bags, you can produce 70,000 cups.
Yes, from those 20 bags, I can produce 70,000 cups.
Next, we move to the portion of the factory where the toothpicks are packaged. Generally, other toothpick packaging factories in the country only fill the cups by hand, a process that is way too tedious, irregular, and time-consuming. But Unduka says he managed to fabricate a machine that loads the toothpicks into the cups, and that this device is only exclusive to this factory.
This is one of the cup filling stations. So each station has two people, one person to operate the machine and the other person to put the lid on the cup. In the factory we have 4 machines like that. In total they can do at least 35,000 cups every day.
Right, in a 10-hour shift.
In a 10-hour shift. So each person would do an average of 8,000 cups, 8,000 plus cups per person every day. So we have 4 of these machines, and like I said, the combined capacity every day is at least 35,000. It requires 8 people to manage. If we had to do this by hand, we would need at least 20 people. So the machine saves labor like that.
To achieve 35,000.
To achieve the same volume, yes. The trays of that are filled with cups are taken into the last machine called the shrink bundling machine. What this does is count the cups and wrap them in plastic as per the market requirement. The market requires each package to have 12. So what happens here now is that the workers put the cups on a conveyor like this, and then the conveyor moves them inside the machine and wraps them in plastic that looks like this. This is the raw plastic. This is also made locally here in Asaba, Nigeria. And after wrapping them in plastic, it moves them into a shrink tunnel or heat tunnel. And that heat tunnel shrinks the film into a very tight package so that the 12 cups stay together. And eventually you're going to see the cups coming out of the shrink tunnel. And then from that point, they are put in boxes and they are ready to be sold.
How do you get these toothpicks that you package?
Okay, so the toothpicks come in a naked raw form, and they come in 20 kilo boxes. Each box contains 20 kilos of toothpicks, and they're in round billets like this, and they're all naked, and they are taken from here into the cup filling station that we saw before.
Customers as widely spread as Onitsha, Aba, Lagos, and Abuja come here to take supplies.